Those of us lucky enough to get to do our jobs from home have only been at it for 2 months. Feels like 2 years, right? But for Twitter employees, this may be their new permanent normal. In a statement, the company says, quote, if our employees are in a role and situation that enables them to work from home and they want to continue to do so forever, we'll make that happen. And if many companies follow in Twitter's footsteps, cities like New York will be forced to reckon with a new normal. From the New York Times today, quote, companies were forced by the crisis to figure out how to function productively with workers operating from home and realized unexpectedly that it was not all bad. They're now wondering whether it's worth continuing to spend as much money on Manhattan's exorbitant commercial rents. They're also mindful that public health considerations might make the packed workplaces of the recent past less viable. Joining us now, MSNBC's very own David Gura. David, this is something you and I have been talking about. What will the new normal look like? And it looks like it may look like what you and I are doing right now, being on TV from home.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Twitter's decision is interesting because we're in the middle of this sort of cultural and economic sea change, as you describe it. And Twitter out of the gate was pretty early on saying people could work from home. Now they're saying they might extend that in perpetuity. When you talk about a city like New York, there is so much real estate that's devoted to commerce, to business. I mean, you look at the financial services companies, that's what's so well detailed in that New York Times piece. We're talking about millions of square feet and thousands of people who work for those companies and have come in day out. If that were to change, that's a whole lot of vacancy. And I took a drive up Madison Avenue this week, and it is deep-peopled and totally empty of commerce as well. And it gives you a glimpse of what these cities might look like. Now, I think what's kind of interesting is you think this through, of people working from home, you know, what does that mean for the culture of workplaces? You know, NBC has its own culture. Twitter has its own culture. How do you maintain that if you have people working in so many different places? And I think the thing overarching all of this, something that you and I both have been reckoning with, is childcare is such a huge phenomenon with which we have to deal. There's working from home, and then there's working from home full time while you're taking care of your kids. And until we can solve that, as so many people have pointed out, it can't really be seen as sort of an equal thing. It's not apples to apples if you're still watching your kids full time.
Indeed. I want to ask you about the differences, though, between this reckoning and the post 9/11 reckoning, because it feels altogether differently. And obviously, the attacks on New York at the Trade Center made anyone that goes to work in an office in New York City feel trauma, feel fear for a very long time. But it did not have the effect of driving people from their workplaces the way the New York Times reporting today suggests this might. Any sense, any analysis of why that's the case?
Yeah, I've been thinking through these counterfactuals, like what if this were to happen 10, 20 years ago and we didn't have the kind of internet connectivity that we have right now? Could as many people have worked remotely as they have and continue to do? Probably not. And then I think what makes this situation so unique is just the economic landscape that we're looking at right now. Jay Powell, the Fed chair, talked about how he doesn't think now, and many economists don't think now, that the economy is going to recover as quickly as they would like it to. That complicates things a lot. I mean, in your intro, you talked about the anxiety that people are going to have commuting back to the city, still worried about the public health effects of this. There is still so much that's unknown, so much uncertainty surrounding this, how quickly that this virus will be mitigated, how quickly a vaccine will be made available. I think that's something that makes this more different than 9/11. And then on the issue of that counterfactual, I mean, I was thinking, you know, if a company said, I want to make, you know, we'd like to let workers work from home, there would be so much that went into that decision making that didn't happen this time around. This was a real baptism by fire. This happened, people were sent home, and we just had to make it work. And we tried out different technologies, and to an extent, we're still doing that. I think that's a fundamental difference between now and what might have happened before. Just sort of our willingness to experiment and try to do as best as we can to make this work, Nicole.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.